Good morning. This is Brother Lewis Montgomery. I am very pleased to interview Brother Dennis Kemp Sr. as part of our oral history project. How are you this morning, Brother Kemp?
I'm doing good, Brother Montgomery. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and where you went to college.
Absolutely. So my parents grew up in the segregated South. My dad came here in the mid-50s because he could not get a job as a chemist in Savannah, Georgia. And so that's how we settled here. I was born and raised in Southeast Washington, D.C. And I went to John Carroll High School. And I left there and I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University with a degree in business. Okay. And I have a master's degree from the University of Maryland, global campus.
Okay, great, excellent. So tell us how you became a member of Alpha Phi Alpha.
It's a great question. So my dad was an Alpha. He pledged in 1946 at Clark College. And he never put any pressure on me. You know, I grew up, with paddles in the basement. I'm not saying he used them on me, but I'm just saying I grew up with paddles in the basement. And I would see him go to events. I was raised in a AME church, and there were several Alphas in the church. At that time, they were starting, a chapter out in Prince George's County. And so, but my dad never put any pressure on me. So when I went to VCU, I looked around and the Alphas on campus actually kind of recruited us. It was VCU is split into two campuses, an academic campus and a medical campus. And there was no housing on the academic campus. So I was placed on the medical campus. And then three brothers that I ended up pledging with lived down MCB. So they just kind of recruited us. So I'm just so happy that they did. But, I can't say, my dad said he stopped paying my tuition if I pledged something other than Alpha.
Okay, great. So you were around it for a lot of your life before you went to college. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what chapter is at VCU, and in what year did you cross?
It's Theta Row. I crossed in spring of '78. We were a jewel line, started with 8, finished with 7. And I'm real close with all of my line brothers. We have a text chat. One of our brothers ended the Omega chapter during the pandemic. And we of course supported that. But no, I'm, my line brothers, I don't know where I would be without them. We're close, and we keep that bond together.
Okay, sure. So tell us, what are some of your best memories as a college brother?
Oh, I think, we want to keep this G rated. So let me just say, I think some of the best are some of the road trips that we took. We did some outstanding road trips to different campuses. So VCU is not an HBCU, but we were surrounded by HBCU. So just on the other side of Richmond, really walking distance, you've got Virginia Union. Okay. In fact, we did most of our pledging over at Virginia Union, Gamma chapter. My line brother was from Hampton. Hampton's right down the road, like an hour and 15 minutes from Richmond. So we spent a lot of time in Hampton, Norfolk State. Of course, with me being from DC, we would come up to Howard. So I think the best thing about college is the road trips. Sure. And we had a bunch of road trips. And we, I remember one brother, his car caught on fire going to a VCU game down in Norfolk. And he drove the car back. I mean, it's, when you're in college, you do crazy stuff.
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned you've got 2 degrees, a degree in business as well as a master's degree. So what do you do for a living?
Currently, I'm an IT project manager. I've been a federal contractor for the past 25 years. I supported the U.S. Department of Education. I was a program manager for the National Student Loan Data System, which keeps track of all federal loans and private loans, in addition to federal grants. And I was on the contractor side. And now I've been supporting the VA. For the past 10 years, I've supported the National Cemetery Administration. I've supported Veterans Benefits, Veterans Health. And right now I'm supporting enrollment and eligibility, which helps veterans determine what benefits they're eligible for, and then assist them to enroll them. So all of those are backdoor systems, a lot of legacy systems, and the key word in all government agencies now is enterprise-wide. So it's developing these systems so that it's not so many systems. Believe it or not, I think the VA has like 700 systems.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah. So trying to get those into one, and then the other thing we're trying to do is to talk more to the DoD side, so that veterans don't have to go back and forth with their records. So I'm happy with it. Please, I think every day, I'm doing something to help out veterans.
Yeah, that's great. That's a very important mission-focused work.
And I did mention I have my PMP, which is my project management professional certification as well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I know that you have been involved with the fraternity for many years and have held a variety of leadership roles, starting at the probably at college and certainly through the chapters. If you don't mind, just sharing with us your alpha, let's call it your leadership journey.
So in college, don't ask me why, but they put me in charge of the money. So I did that in college, and so I like to tell the story. I was actually out of the fold for a while. That's why I push to make brothers understand we've got to do more to help our college brothers transition. So I transitioned out of college. I moved back up to Maryland. I stayed in Richmond for a little while, but then I moved back up here, and I had family. My daughter was born, and my son had been born earlier. And then I just happened to be driving up 29 one day, and the brother saw my plate and said, "We're having a cookout." So I went, and it was Kappa Lambda was having a cookout. Nice. And so I started my leadership journey there. Kappa Lambda, I was chaplain, I was director of educational activities, I was vice president, and I ended up as president. And then when actually, before I became president, I was an area director. But I didn't want to do both, so I let the area director go and became the chapter president, and I was also college advisor to Pi Theta, which is located at Kappa State College.
Okay.
University, excuse me, Kappa State University. So prior to me becoming a federal contractor, I was actually a student aid administrator. And I was the director of financial aid at Kappa, and I was the assistant director of financial aid at the University of Maryland in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So after I stopped being president, I was looking for something to do. And the current vice president was our 24th Eastern Region vice president, Brother Darren Morton. And I, sought a position on his staff, and he made me the associate director of conventions. Okay. For the Eastern region. So I was heavily involved in planning the Eastern Region Convention. And then his executive director, Brother Steve Cuffey, elected to leave his position as executive director of the region to become the district director for the state of New York. He said, "I want to run New York." And so he did, and he was successful in getting that position. And then I moved up to be executive director of the region, working under Brother Morton. So executive director, you essentially the Eastern Region Vice President's administrator, chief administrator. You work with district directors, you work with conventions, you're just involved pretty much in everything that goes on. And all of that gave me the experience to run for Eastern Region Vice President. And I was successful for that. It's a 2-year term, so I was able to run for second term and win that. I had the fortune of being Eastern Region Vice President during the Centennial. And so I've got tapes over here. If you ever over the house, I can show them to you. So I actually am the one that opened the convention. I had the opening session.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, my dad was alive. I lost my dad to the Omega chapter in 2020. And he was always so proud of me and my Alpha journey. And I made sure he came to all the conventions and everything and supported me. So after that, I've just been serving on various committees. I've been on executive director search committees. I was Brother Mark Tillman, General President Mark Tillman. I was his director of transition, both when he came in with the transition from Brother Mason, and then, or Brother Crudison, I should say. And then I was his transition when he transitioned over to Brother Ward, which is involved making sure transition plan.
Mhm.
Also helped Brother Tillman set up his administration, some of the people on his staff. So I've had varied experiences. There's not much I haven't done. I was instrumental when I was regional vice president in working with the Alpha Chapter Brothers to get Cornell back on campus.
Mhm.
I would also, as regional vice president, I set it up. I wasn't regional vice president when the convention went to Bermuda, but I was the one that set it up. And in fact, I took a staff meeting to Bermuda. And I would tell you, man, it was fantastic because the brothers in Bermuda, they have all the connections. So at the time I went down there, the chief of police was an Alpha.
Nice.
And so I get off the plane with my family, they pull me off, they take me through customs in a side room and then get a police escort to the hotel.
Nice.
So, so of course the people in the hotel's like, who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly. Very nice.
So I've had very good experiences. I can honestly say, it's the best, one of the best moves I've ever made was pledging Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Well, that's quite a leadership journey. You mentioned the 100th centennial. I've seen the picture of the centennial, and I noticed you in the front row of that picture. So congratulations. That's one for the ages.
Yeah, and in fact, I got it up here in my Alpha Hall. I sure do. Yeah.
Very nice. I would imagine over the years you've probably had a chance to meet some of the famous alphas. Are there any in particular you want to mention that you've had a chance to meet over the years?
Ooh, boy, it's been so many. I wasn't ready for that question. I'd have to think about that one.
All right.
I mean, locally, of course, Marion Barry, he used to come to our Black Caucus reception.
Okay.
I've just been to so many events. It's just so hard to remember them all,
Yeah, no, I understand. That's
I've met so many, brothers, from Roland Martin, and all, just so many brothers I've met. It's kind of hard to pick one. And as I like to say, your A is no bigger than my A. All our A's are the same size, so, I can't really think of anybody that really stands out.
Sure, I understand. You mentioned that your dad was an Alpha, pledged in 47. Or any particular stories that he shared with you about his becoming an Alpha?
Well, he just said it was a much longer process. Basically, he started in the fall semester and concluded at the end of the spring semester.
Okay, so it was basically a year. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Let's say this is 1946. And actually, I used to look through his yearbook and he was actually the chapter president. And I've got a picture of him right over here with the Southern Region Vice President, because the Southern Region Vice President was the president of Savannah State. And he got the president of Savannah State to fly up to a Founders Day at Clark. So, and I have a picture of that. So, yeah, it's some of the stories I again G-rated, so we'll have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's quite a legacy you have with your dad, and sort of some foreshadowing as well with him being a chapter president. And but again, my dad was, he wasn't boisterous or anything, so he never forced it on me or anything like that. But I guess just by watching him and his demeanor kind of wore off on me, and I'm kind of the same way. You won't see me boasting about myself and things I do. I like working behind the scenes and getting the work of Alpha done. That's the main thing. So every day I wake up, what can I do for Alpha today? Nice. As you reflect on your life and your time in the house, I mean, what are some of the things that you're particularly proud of?
I think what I like to do is give brothers goals. And so when I became chapter president, Kappa Phi Lambda kind of had the reputation of just being in Howard County, and not doing anything else. And I always try to make brothers understand that, yes, you are initiated into a chapter, but the fraternity is so much bigger, particularly if you come into a college chapter. You know, you've got to realize, okay, college is over. You know, it's time to move on to an alumni chapter. It's okay to keep, you know, those roots at the college chapter. I mean, I know I was hanging out with some brothers from Theta Row here at the CIAA tournament. Nice. You know, so you keep those connections, but, you know, I've moved on to, you know, the Kappa Phi Lambda to do the work of Alpha. I think I'm particularly proud of that. And I think from a regional perspective, I think I was able to establish some procedures and some rules that are still in place today, particularly when it comes to the timeliness of conventions, because brothers will tell you all the time, I believe in starting on time and ending on time, because you're disrespecting people's time just to have them sitting in a room, and particularly when you don't tell them anything, you know, that's going on. So those are some of the major things that I'm very pleased with some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah, that's great. You know, you mentioned being at the Centennial in 2006, and I'm wondering, you know, your thoughts on reflecting over the life of Alpha so far. So why do you think Alpha is important today, you know, more than 100 years after its establishment?
To me, all you got to do is read the newspaper. You know, we are still dealing with race issues, and, you know, the fraternity with Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther King, we were at the center of the civil rights movement. And I just think that today we need to continue the fight for civil rights. In addition, mentoring our young African-American boys, because I don't care what anybody says, you know, growing up Black in America is special. You know, you gotta, there's certain things that you have to know, there's certain things that you have to do. And I think it's up to the fraternity to keep those ideals always at the forefront. My father used to tell me all the time, you have to jump higher and run faster than white people. I mean, that's just that. And although we are moving, you know, we haven't moved all the way. I was just reading something the other day, and if you remember when Obama was president, people were talking about a post-racial society just because we had a Black president. Right. And you see where we are today, you know, with George Floyd and just all the things that look at critical race theory. Right. You know, why shouldn't people learn the actual history instead of the sanitized version that you and I learned? I mean, I didn't learn about Tulsa in school. Right. You know, I learned it. And I was watching a documentary on that, and it was a guy from Tulsa. I never forget it. He stood up. He said he was in college, and they were talking about it. He said, no, this didn't happen because I'm from there. You know, and, you know, we have to, you know, another thing, you know, the fraternity should be pushing for is making sure that history is told the way it happened. It's not just because we teach history what actually happened. We're not saying that the people today are racist or should feel bad about themselves. It's just that you need to understand where we as a people are coming from. And, you know, that's the background. And again, my parents are from the segregated South, and they told me so many stories, you know, hand-me-down books, not being able to try on clothes at a department store, you know, stuff like that. It's, you know,
it's stuff it's almost unbelievable, but it's true. And like I said, your parents and my parents and our grandparents experienced all those things, and it's important that the people today know, both Black and white.
Right. And my uncle, he's deceased now, but he did a lot of research on the family, and he found my great-great-grandfather's bill of sale. Oh my gosh. My great-great-grandfather was a slave, and he found a bill of sale. So I mean, that's, you know, that's only what 3 or 4 generations ago. You know? Sure. Yeah. So we still got a ways to go.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Brother Kemp, it has been a real pleasure to have a chance to meet and to record your story. You've had an incredibly distinguished career in the fraternity, and I know you've got even more contributions to make. So any final words before we wrap up?
Well, hey man, I gotta say hello to my grandkids. So Kayla, and look, I gotta remember the names. Okay, Kayla, Corey, Caleb, Ellison. Love you guys.
Oh, very nice. Brother Kemp, thank you so much. Enjoyed
Thank
talking.
you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And again, anytime you need anything from me, I'll take a moment of personal privilege. When you were coming in, I had a lot of questions about you, but you've, and the thing they say about me, I don't give out a lot of compliments because, I don't really sponsor a lot of people because I have high ideals for what I want alpha men to be. And when you don't meet those ideals, I kind of get disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like why superstars don't really make good coaches and stuff, because they expect the players to be as involved as they were. I don't know if you've ever heard the story about Magic Johnson when he was coaching. He was talking to the player's cell phone rang and the player picked it up. Magic took the phone, threw it across the room. You know what I mean? So, I'm very hard on brothers. I must admit that. But I'm proud of the way you've proceeded through your alpha journey, and I just hope you will continue to do so.
Yes, well, Brother Kemp, thank you for those kind words, and yeah, you've inspired me to continue in this work, and I appreciate your suggestion on expanding the scope of this oral history project, because there's a lot of brothers like yourself who've made contributions that we want to make sure younger brothers and others know what you've done. So thank you.
All right.
All right. Take care, brother.
All right. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.